Finish stage one, we've got the base done. We're going to start adding some pieces to this. So in this video, we hope to get our motor mount sorted and possibly the little holder for our ultrasonic sensor as well. So let's get started with that. Now, we're going to be 3D printing this part. So we're going to start with a sketch. I'm going to be doing it on this side. So I'm going to be designing one of these and then building it up from there. So the first thing we probably want to check is how big is this motor. So we can come over here. If you're looking at the actual one, that's probably helpful as well. But we can see the diameter is 24. So let's work with that. So back over here, we're in our sketch, hit N to go normal 2, and I'm going to draw my circle somewhere here and make him 24. All right, so he's freewheeling at the moment. We can make that tangent so it stays on the side. So that's another one of our constraints, which means a rounded edge can then match it. So now I can only move that along that edge. All right, so if we have a look where our holes are, we probably want to have somewhere around there. Because what we want to do next is we're going to add another circle around the outside for the thickness. So I'm going to go and leave that and go dimension, and he wants to be 2 mils thick. So that's good for that. What I want to do now is I'm going to add some lines down to give me those there. I'm going to get rid of that one in the middle, and we can see that they are straight, which is good. What we can do now is if I hover that through, it will get to a point where it goes tangent. So we get a nice smooth line there. Same deal with the one on the outside. Okay, so they're now fixed and they are locked in there. All right, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add in a little rectangle down the bottom, and we're going to go about 12 long and 2 mils high. So now that's fixed in. What we probably want to do is have that about center on those. So what we can do so that we can get that is we're going to use this use or project. That's going to send that to the side. And what we're going to do with that is I'm going to do a line from the middle, but I'm going to make it construction. So the shortcut for that is Q. That brings it up. And what we're going to do then is make a midpoint. So this guy here allows me to say that point I want to be in the midpoint there, and it fixes that in. So now I know that that line there is nice and centered. Oh, don't flip that. Centered with those holes, which is good. All right. The next thing I need is I probably don't need to make the whole half of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a line through the middle. Just go straight up from there. And I'm going to do some trimming. So that M shortcut for the trim, going to cut that. We're going to cut the rest of this. And I'm going to cut that, cut that, cut that. So now we're left with the core piece that we need. And then we can extrude that and then mirror it. So I'm going to start by extruding that piece. Now he's new, that's perfect, but he's gone the wrong way. So I'm going to flip him the other way. We're going to have a problem with that because it's not going to go across there. I'm going to shorten that out to 20, and there's a really nice little offset. So notice that that's just jumped. We're going to fix that so it's a new piece and a separate piece. This starting offset allows us to change how far in we start. So if I go to 10 and we look from the top, that's probably about right. If we go 11, 10 and a half, somewhere around there. I'm just going to leave it at 10. So if they're not quite centered, that is okay. So that's now ready to go. I'm going to hit tick. So now I've got part of my design there, and I'm going to add in a chamfer or a fillet in this case, just to smooth that out. So let's make that one 3, tick, and then again on that inside edge, let's make that 4, tick. So now we've got a nice smooth line there, and we could even do a fillet on those edges just to make it neater. Round that out to 5. So now we've got a nice edge. If I want to, I'm going to go in and chamfer, and I'm just going to make that down to 1 mil, and I can do that on the outside edge just to smooth it out and make it look a little bit nicer. Notice I'm doing all of these steps before we mirror it, so all those features now are going to be mirrored. So that part 2, which we're going to change the name of in a second, will mirror across there. So there's a few updates we need to do to this. I should have done this in the last video, but that extrude is for our base. That mirror is for our base. That sketch here is for our motor mount. So taking the time will make your life a whole lot easier when you need to go back and fix these up. Motor mount. Same deal. Motor mount. And if you've got, I mean, you could add more description, but it gives us enough to be able to find, because notice when we hover over something, it shows us where it is on the feature as well. Spacebar deselects everything that we've got. So rename, motor mount, and then mirror. Now notice we've got something wrong with our mirror. We now have 2 pieces. So if we go back into that mirror, notice we want to change that from new to add. We want to merge it with part 2, tick, and now he's nicely together. We're going to rename that part, motor mount. All right, so now that's in place, that's looking good. We're going to add it to our assembly. So if we go insert, our motor mount, and we're going to want 2 of those. Now notice we have a problem. We haven't quite finished everything we need for this, because when we put him in place, we have no way to attach it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the holes to that top. So let's go back over to our Part Studio, and what we can do here is we're going to use those holes. If we remember, they are 10 mils apart, center distance, 3 mils, perfect. Deselect those. So I'm going to make a new sketch on the top there, and N for normal 2. And I'm just going to add those 2 circles. Now I'm not going to use, we could use that. He's going to be 3, and then bring him across. And if I hover over that, it's going to give me no. So I'm going to use an E to make those equal. And if I did that right, that should be 10 mils apart. Beautiful. So notice it's gone grey, which means it's a derived one. So because I had those fixed and concentric with those, that is the right spot. So now I'm going to extrude those. So what I want to do, instead of add, I'm going to remove. The motor mount is what I want to take it out. I could leave it as blind, but what's better is actually saying through all, so it then cuts there. So if I ever change it, it's more manageable. We can see we had that pretty close to where it wants to be. So when we go to fix it up later, we're going to actually have it in the right spot. So what we've got here, you'll see we've got this one doesn't have it on that side, so we do need to add them over here. So we could redo the sketch, or if I grab those 2, I'm going to bring those on top of the mirror, so it reorders what we've done, and that's now fixed. I will need to go back into my base sketch to add the extra holes on there, but what I want to check is the distance. So they're 38 apart. I can now go back into my base sketch, and then I'm going to draw a line, make it Q for construction, send that across, and then I'm going to mirror across that. So that mirror line, that one, and that one mirrored across. And if I then go D for dimension, I know those two need to be 38 apart. And now they're locked in. So there's lots of ways I could have done that, but that gives me, I know that they are going to be symmetric and the right dimension. So close off that, I get my extra holes on both sides, and I can now have a look over my assembly, and I've got those mated. I can mate those in place now. So if I go M, I'm going to take that top of the circle and the bottom of this one, and that's fastened. And I'm going to do the same thing for this one over here. So it doesn't matter which hole I use, but finding a section that lines up is really useful. Okay, so now I can do the same thing for our motors. So I'm going to use that end, and I'm going to use that side. And that's probably pretty good there. We can always offset it if we want to. And if you can't get onto that face, I'm going to hold shift, and then that gives me the center point for that. And then I can hit tick. So now I've got my motors in place. I'm just going to check that I've got that side to that side is 145. So I'm still within my space that I require, which is good. So now those motor mounts are complete, and that is in place. My motors are set, and we're looking good. So we're going to leave that video there, and then we're going to do the ultrasonic mount in the next one. So we've finished that. We're going to go up to create version. This is version 2, and I'm going to call that stage 2, and that's our motor mount. And go create. So now we've got our next stage done, and we're ready to move on to the next piece.